Welcome to War Bios, the podcast that delves into the intricacies of military history's most pivotal conflicts. This battle marked a turning point in the war, as Allied forces finally gained the upper hand against the German army. But to understand the significance of this victory, we must first examine the events that led up to it. The Battle of Amiens was not an isolated incident, but rather the culmination of months of planning and preparation by the Allies. In the spring of 1918, the German army launched a series of attacks along the Western Front, known as the Spring Offensive. These attacks pushed the Allied lines back, and by June, the Germans had reached the Marne River, just 40 miles from Paris. The situation was dire, but the Allies were not ready to give up yet. On March 21, 1918, the German army launched Operation Michael, a massive assault on the Allied lines near the Somme River. The attack caught the Allies off guard, and they were initially unable to hold back the German advance. However, as the days passed, the Allies began to regroup and launch counterattacks of their own. One of the key locations where the Allies were able to stem the German tide was near the town of Amiens, which lay in the heart of the Somme Valley. The city of Amiens was an important transportation hub, with several major roads and railways converging there. The Allies recognized that if they could hold on to Amiens, they would be able to maintain a vital supply line and prevent the Germans from advancing further into France. In April 1918, the Allies launched a series of counterattacks near Amiens, including the Battle of Villers-Bretonneux, which was fought on April 24-25, 1918. Although the battle was brutal and intense, the Allies were ultimately able to secure a victory and push the Germans back. As the summer of 1918 wore on, the Allies continued to prepare for a major counterattack against the German army. General Ferdinand Foch, the supreme Allied commander, began to develop a plan to launch a series of coordinated attacks along the Western Front, with the goal of pushing the Germans back and relieving the pressure on Paris. One of the key locations selected for the counterattack was the city of Amiens, which was still held by the Germans. The stage was now set for the Battle of Amiens, which would take place on August 8, 1918. The Allied forces, led by General Foch and General Douglas Haig, were determined to drive the Germans back and secure a decisive victory. The battle would involve hundreds of thousands of soldiers, thousands of tanks and aircraft, and would be one of the largest and most complex military operations of the war. Despite being pushed to the brink of defeat, they were able to regroup and launch a devastating counterattack that would ultimately turn the tide of the war. The Battle of Amiens was a masterpiece of military planning and execution. General Ferdinand Foch, the supreme Allied commander, had carefully coordinated the efforts of multiple armies, including the British, Canadian, Australian, and French forces. The Allies had assembled a vast array of troops, tanks, and aircraft, with over 100,000 soldiers, 500 tanks, and 1,900 planes taking part in the battle. As the battle commenced, the Allies made rapid gains, pushing the Germans back across the Somme Valley. The Canadian Corps, led by General Arthur Currie, played a key role in the battle, advancing over 12 miles on the first day and capturing several key towns and villages. The Australian Corps, led by General John Monash, also performed heroically, breaking through the German lines and pushing deep into enemy territory. One of the most significant factors contributing to the Allied success was the use of tanks. The British had developed a new type of tank, the Mark V, which was faster and more reliable than its predecessors. These tanks were used to great effect at Amiens, allowing the Allies to break through the German lines and exploit the weaknesses in their defenses. The air support provided by the Allied planes was also crucial, with aircraft providing close air support to the advancing troops and bombing German rear areas to disrupt their supply lines. The Germans, on the other hand, were caught off guard by the ferocity of the Allied attack and struggled to respond effectively. As the battle raged on, the Allies continued to make gains, pushing the Germans back towards the city of Amiens. On August 11, 1918, the Allies captured the town of Villers-Bretonneux, which had been a key German stronghold. The next day, they entered the city of Amiens itself, marking a major turning point in the battle. The Battle of Amiens was a resounding victory for the Allies, with over 75,000 German soldiers killed or wounded and thousands more taken prisoner. The Germans were forced to retreat from the Somme Valley, abandoning their plans to capture Paris and instead focusing on defending their own territory. As we look back on this pivotal battle, it's clear that the Allies' victory at Amiens marked a major shift in the balance of power on the Western Front. The Germans would never fully recover from the losses they suffered during this battle, and the Allies would go on to launch a series of successful attacks that would ultimately lead to the end of the war. In the aftermath of the Battle of Amiens, the Germans were forced to retreat from the Somme Valley, abandoning their plans to capture Paris. The Allies, on the other hand, continued to push forward, launching a series of successful attacks that would ultimately lead to the end of the war. The Battle of Amiens was a significant turning point in the war, as it marked the beginning of the end of the German army's ability to launch large-scale offensives. One of the key factors contributing to the Allied success after Amiens was the use of combined arms tactics, which involved coordinating the efforts of infantry, tanks, and aircraft to achieve a common objective. This approach had been developed by the Allies during the battle, and it proved to be highly effective in breaking through the German lines. The Canadians, Australians, and British all played important roles in the development and implementation of these tactics, which would go on to influence military strategy for decades to come. As the war drew to a close, the Battle of Amiens was remembered as a major victory for the Allies, and it was celebrated by the public and the press. The battle had been a testament to the strength and resilience of the Allied forces, and it had marked a significant shift in the balance of power on the Western Front. In the years following the war, the Battle of Amiens would be studied by military historians and strategists, who sought to understand the lessons of the battle and apply them to future conflicts. Today, the Battle of Amiens is remembered as one of the most important battles of World War I, and it continues to be commemorated by veterans groups and historical societies around the world. The battle's legacy can be seen in the modern military tactics and strategies that were developed as a result of the lessons learned during the battle. As we look back on this pivotal moment in history, it's clear that the Battle of Amiens played a significant role in shaping the course of World War I, and its impact continues to be felt today. As General Douglas Haig, the commander of the British Expeditionary Force, noted after the battle, "The victory at Amiens was a great and decisive one, and it marked the beginning of the end of the German army's power to resist." The Battle of Amiens was indeed a turning point in the war, and its legacy continues to be felt today. In the words of Winston Churchill, the Battle of Amiens was a brilliant and decisive victory, which marked the beginning of the end of the war. The Battle of Amiens will always be remembered as one of the most important battles of World War I, and its legacy continues to shape our understanding of military history and strategy today. That's all for today's War Bios. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, I'm General Biography reminding you to keep marching toward victory.